Good evening. I'm Dave Jones, meteorologist with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. It has been a wild day as Ida came ashore in Louisiana earlier this morning with 150-mile-per-hour winds. It's been a devastating day in southern Louisiana. There's a lot of damage being reported, roofs being reported ripped off, and a lot of power out. You'll see in the crawl the latest number. I believe it's almost 500,000 people without power. So I'm going to make this quick. I just want to give everyone on the Fleet Response Working Group a quick update. Um, Ida has made landfall. You can see here. This is the wind field analysis. Pulled that into GeoCollaborate directly from the National Hurricane Center. And that wind field analysis shows the tropical storm force winds around the outside here, and on the inside is 50-knot winds, and then on the inside is 64-knot winds. That's hurricane force. A really amazing thing, though, when Ida made landfall, because Louisiana is so swampy and marshy in the southern part of the state, the hurricane really didn't weaken that much. It has an excellent presentation on satellite and on radar as well. And by that, I don't mean excellent because it's good. I just mean it still looks very mature. It's like the land is not impacting its intensity yet. Researchers have called this the brown ocean effect, meaning that when land stays so moist, it can feed a hurricane or at least delay its weakening. But you can see the forecast track has it going right through Baton Rouge and then on up through the central Mississippi. Of course, there are declarations of emergency by each of the governors, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. And I'm going to pull out here a little bit because we also have here in the dashboard, you'll collaborate, purple states. The Federal Motor Carrier Services Administration issues waivers for truckers to be able to bring in water, supplies, power generators, things like that into disaster areas. So they get waivers so they don't get pulled over for driving a truck that's a little bit too heavy or driving a little bit longer than they should. It's important to get these supplies into the disaster zone once the storm clears. The other thing that I wanted to show you is that I'm going to turn off the wind analysis here and show you some of these buoys. Because I've turned on the buoys, live observations from NOAA. And this one here, the circulation is so broad around Ida. Look at this dominant, significant wave height, 17.4 feet. 17.4 foot waves out here crashing into parts of Louisiana. And even over towards Gulfport and Biloxi, there are other reports here. There's 27 knots gusting to 40 knots, which is about 45 miles per hour. That's strong tropical storm force. And in some areas, getting quite a bit of wave action. Some of these buoys don't report waves. By the way, on Dolphin Island, they've closed the causeway because the storm surge has flooded the causeway. So nobody's getting in and out of Dolphin Island now, but there's really some bad things going on in HOUMA, Louisiana right now. Numerous reports of roofs ripped off of houses and people calling for rescues. And even though emergency personnel shouldn't be out in these terrible hurricane conditions, I believe some of them are going out to see what they can do to help people. This is why they issue evacuations. When evacuations are ordered and you think you're not going to see these storm conditions and you decide to stay, this is what puts other people's lives at risk. And it's not a smart thing to do. You really need to evacuate when the authorities ask you to evacuate. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over to this incredible satellite image. The GOES satellite I explained earlier can take these zoomed in images called rapid scan images so we can see them every minute. This is a zoom into the eye of Ida as it was making landfall. Now, I want you to notice multiple vortexes spinning around this eye. Let's take a look. Look at that. As the storm was going inland, making landfall. Look at those vortexes going around the eye. This is what could cause even more wind and more damage, researchers believe, in circling that eye. And just look how you can look down right into the eye, how it's wide at the top and it gets narrow, almost like a huge tornado, and you're looking down through the eye of it. That's the kind of damage that this is causing. It is just rotating and rotating and rotating at 100 to 140 miles per hour around that eye wall. And those winds are being translated to the ground, causing terrible, terrible damage. So I thought that would be interesting to see. Remember also, I said we were going to follow the radar path of Ida and compare it to the radar path of Katrina. So I want to show you, remind you, here is what the radar path of Katrina showed. It moved slightly to the east of New Orleans. Here we go. So here's Katrina coming up, and it was a Category 3 hurricane, but then it weakened to a Category 2 as it was coming inland. And look how it came more of a south to north, moving right. The western eye wall did pass over New Orleans. It caused a lot of problems and a lot of wind over Lake Pontchartrain, but you can see the path that that Katrina took during 2005, 16 years ago to the day. Today is when Katrina made landfall in Louisiana. Now I want to show you Ida. Here is Ida coming up, made landfall a little bit further to the west, but look at these last few images in the radar. I'm going to let this play one more time. It's starting to turn a little bit towards the north. This has implications for New Orleans. Look at that turn. You can see it. You can see it right at the end. I don't know if this is a temporary turn or it's starting to do a turn and starting to move more northward. If that happens, much heavier winds are going to make it into downtown New Orleans, and also even heavier rain. So we're going to be watching this through the evening. It's going to impact some of the response activities. Of course, people aren't going to be able to get out until this storm passes well to the north. Ida is forecast to be a hurricane at least for the next 12 to 18 hours till it gets to the Mississippi border. And then it's expected to become tropical storm and then down to tropical depression, where wind is not going to be a huge factor, but the rain will be. But as that eye comes in, you can see it's moving northwestward, but then right here, it takes a little bit of a jog northward. Now, earlier, regarding some of the response activities and some of the positioning of people to help with supplies and help with power restoration, earlier, President Biden was at FEMA headquarters and had this to say.
We've already pre-positioned resources that we know are going to be needed and equipment and response teams in the region. This includes 2.5 million meals, 3 million liters of water. We've got generators in place, and we're in close touch with the power providers to get and restore power as soon as possible, because a lot of it's going to go out, and we should be prepared that it can take a long time, no matter how much we've pre-positioned, which we have, that it's going to take a long time for a lot of it to get back up. It could take a matter of weeks.
So you heard, it could take a matter of weeks to restore some of this power because of the incredible damage to the power poles, transmission lines, things like that. They'll be out with inspectors as soon as possible. And all that sort of stuff. So that's it for the update for this 5 o'clock. Again, Ida is still a hurricane. It's still a Category 4 hurricane, winds of 130 miles per hour. It should slowly start to diminish, but it's also slowing down in its forward speed. That means longer duration wind and heavier rain as it falls, particularly around the center of the storm. So expect a lot of flash flooding, a lot of flash flood warnings, and also extreme high wind warnings because this storm is taking so long to weaken. We'll keep you posted. I'm Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and the Fleet Response Working Group. This has been an All Hazards Consortium update. It'll be posted on the Fleet Response Working Group dashboard, the GeoCollaborate dashboard. and we'll do another update perhaps later tonight or tomorrow after the 11 o'clock advisory.